Welcome back to The Witch Show. This time, we're tackling one of the biggest questions in human history.
What is
Are
it?
aliens real? And if so,
Yeah, they are.
what do
They're
they
real.
want with us?
Dude, it's easy. They want our butts.
I'm sorry, what?
Our butts,
excuse
dude.
him, audience. He's an
Our
idiot.
delectable cheeks, my guy. Think about it.
Can we
Every
just-
single
oh
abduction
my
story
God.
involves probes.
Probes.
Yeah,
really?
dude, probes. You think they're here for our brains?
No, probably not
They're
yours.
here for booty. Humans are the intergalactic peach emoji.
No,
my guy.
that's not the scientific consensus. We're here to discuss documented sightings and credible witnesses.
Credible
and
witnesses who all ended up pantsless on a cold metal table? Look, I'm just saying, if I got abducted, I'd at least ask them to buy me dinner first. Maybe a drink, beat me up to a space Olive Garden or something. Don't just jump straight to the probes.
Can we please just stay professional for this one episode?
Professional? Please, this episode's literally called Probe and Tell. You wanted serious? You should have gone with They're Closer Than We Think. But nope, you picked the porno title. That's on you.
Fine, but can we at least start with actual evidence?
Evidence? You mean the government cover-ups? The flying Doritos in Arizona? And the space shrimp with crab claws in Mississippi? Yeah, real. Alright, buddy.
It is all right. Thousands of witnesses, official documents, recordings.
Thousands of witnesses who still got probed. Look, I'm not saying aliens are real. I'm just saying they're horny. Earth isn't the blue planet, it's the booty planet.
Oh my god, dude, I freaking hate you so much.
And the aliens love me. Now shut up and tell the people the welcoming thing that I had to do last week because somebody got all hot and bothered by my hairy daddy.
Really? Okay, did you even actually write the letter?
I did. And you know what he said? He said...
Yeah, you know what? I don't even care.
Wow,
Welcome to The Witch
rude.
Show, where smart meets stupid and somehow makes sense. My name's Georgie, and I'm thinking out loud so you don't have to.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Witch Show. From what I think seriously to you.
WITS, The Witch Show.
Cool story, bro.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Witch Show. Thank you again for joining us this week, and this time we're talking about aliens. That's right, aliens and alien abductions and so on and so forth. These stories were suggested by some of our most daring fans, and for that I thank you. Seriously though, if you guys haven't hopped onto the Facebook page to make comments or interact with me directly, I highly suggest it, as it's a great way to communicate with me directly and make podcast suggestions. I also put out little snippets of like cryptids, theories, government conspiracies, that sort of thing. So if that's right up your alley, go and check out the page. And also make sure to share it with your friends, because the more notoriety, the better the page is going to get. And for those of you who have already shared the page, I thank you very much. But that's enough foreplay. Let's quit the yapping and get to clapping. This is the one that started it all. September 19th, 1961, Betty and Barney Hill are driving through New Hampshire, late at night on a lonely stretch of road. They see a light in the sky, nothing unusual at first, but it doesn't stay still. It moves, it follows, it grows brighter. Barney pulls over, he grabs his binoculars, and he swears he sees figures inside some kind of craft. That's when the fear kicks in. They floor it, desperate to get away, and then they lose 2 hours. Now, if that's not creepy enough, later under hypnosis, both Betty and Barney recall being taken aboard a spacecraft. Betty describes small gray beings with huge slanted eyes. She says they performed exams, took samples, and even showed her a star map of where they came from. At the time, she didn't know what she was looking at. But years later, astronomers compared her sketch to Zeta Reticuli star system, and it matched. That system hadn't even been charted by humans yet. So either Betty was secretly running NASA in her spare time, or she really saw something. Barney's account is even darker. He recalls a medical exam that included, how do I put this gently, aliens putting something on his junk. Poor guy never lived it down. Forget about alien abduction trauma. Imagine explaining to your friends, yeah, the aliens checked my prostate with their version of an iPhone charger. That's therapy for life. The part that sticks with me the most, though, is how much they did not want the attention. They didn't go to the tabloids, they weren't trying to sell t-shirts, they just wanted to understand what happened. They had physical symptoms too. Betty's dress was ripped and covered with a strange pink powder. Their car had an odd circle mark on it that made compasses go haywire. That's not just, we fell asleep at the wheel material. That definitely screams that something else is going on. Skeptics still argue it was stress, imagination, or maybe it was just a shared dream. But how do two people under separate hypnosis sessions recall nearly identical events, down to details neither had shared aloud? And the Zeta Reticuli star map? That's the smoking gun for me. It's either the greatest coincidence of all time, or proof the hills were the first unwilling guest on Earth's Airbnb in the sky. Every abduction story since then, missing time, medical exams, the Greys, they all trace back here. So when people make jokes about aliens and probing, remember, it started with a terrified couple on a dark road in 1961 who just wanted to get home. Now, have you ever heard of the Phoenix Lights? Well, March 13th, 1997. Picture this. You're outside in Phoenix, Arizona. Nice weather, you're maybe grilling a burger. Burgers. Enjoying a cold drink, like maybe a Modelo's, who knows. Suddenly, you notice a massive set of lights forming a perfect V shape in the sky. Not just one or two, but 5, maybe 7, and they're in formation. It's not just you seeing it. Thousands and thousands of people across Arizona report it. Families, pilots, police officers, even the governor. That's not crazy Uncle Larry saw Venus through the binoculars. That's an entire city looking up and going, why is there a flying Dorito over my house? The craft was described as huge. Some said it was the size of a football field. Others swore it blocked out the stars as it passed overhead. Totally silent. No sound of engines, no sonic boom, just this ominous gliding triangle. One guy said it was like watching a giant shadow move across the sky. And here's where it gets wild. The lights weren't moving independently. Like airplanes, they were fixed to something massive. Now the official explanation, oh, don't worry folks, it was just military flares. Ah yes, the classic flares excuse. Because when I set off flares in my backyard, they hover in formation for 30 minutes without moving, without smoke trails, and without sound. I've seen flares. They wobble, they fall, they fade. They don't hold a perfect V shape and silently creep across the sky like a spaceman array. Nice try, government. What really sends a shiver down my spine, well, actually it's pretty expected coming from the government, it was how quickly they scrambled to cover it up. Even the governor at the time, Fife Symington, first made jokes about it, bringing out a guy in an alien costume at a press conference. Everyone laughed. Then years later, Symington admitted on camera that he had seen the lights himself and was convinced that it was otherworldly. So basically, he lied to calm the public, then confessed when it didn't matter anymore. That's not suspicious at all, right? Eyewitnesses' reports are still consistent to this day. Families drew the same triangular shape, people described the same eerie silence, and no one ever came forward with proof of flare tests. To me, that says one of two things. Either the US government is hiding some next-level technology we still don't have 25 years later, or something not of this earth took a casual cruise through Phoenix just to freak us out. And here's the kicker. Sightings of massive triangle-shaped crafts didn't stop in 1997. Reports continued across the world. Belgium in the 80s, Texas in the 2000s, and more. Some call them black triangles. Some think they're alien, others say that they're top-secret military craft. But if you ask me, that's right, Georgie, give us the real what I think seriously. If the government had flying ships the size of skyscrapers, you'd think they'd be using them for something more important than just photobombing Arizonans grilling hot dogs. Unless, of course, they're not ours at all. Now, in December 1980, Suffolk, England, U.S. Air Force personnel stationed at RAF Woodbridge and RAF Bentwaters noticed strange lights descending into a nearby Rendlesham forest. These weren't random twinkles in the sky. We're talking glowing, pulsating orbs weaving through trees like they were on some kind of search and destroy mission. 2 airmen, John Burroughs and Jim Peniston, head out to investigate. And what they claim to have found is basically Britain's Roswell, only creepier, because it happened in the woods, at night. Peniston swears he came face to face with a metallic craft, smooth, triangular, about the size of a small tank. The surface had strange glyph-like symbols carved into it, almost like a holographics, but futuristic. Now, if I stumbled on an alien craft in the woods, I'm running the opposite way. Peniston? Well, he walked right up to it and touched it. Oh no, Nemo touched the butt. Sorry, couldn't help myself. We all love Finding Nemo. And it sounds like Peniston loves finding metal crafts in the woods. Anyway, that's some main character energy right there. The second he does, he claims a massive surge of energy hits him. And binary codes, you know, the ones that are like zeros and ones, flood into his mind. Forget abductions, this guy basically downloaded space Wi-Fi into his brain. And the next day, when he wrote down the binary code he remembered, computer specialists later translated it into coordinates. And guess what? Those coordinates pointed to an ancient site, including one near High Brizzle, a mythical lost island west of Ireland that the sailors talked about centuries ago. So either Peniston was hallucinating very specific geological data, or Something was deliberately handing him cosmic Google map coordinates. Meanwhile, other airmen investigated the area and found radioactivity levels spiking. Their instruments went haywire. Lights continued over the forest for several nights in a row, and on the third night, Deputy Base Commander Charles Halt went out with men and recorded the entire event on tape. You can still hear it today. He described beams of light shooting down from the sky, landing near their feet. You can hear the tension in his voice. This wasn't some drunk farmer chasing swamp gas. These were trained military officers losing their cool in real time. Of course, the official explanation came fast. Oh, it was just a lighthouse beam. Nothing to see here. Yeah, because I'm sure the lighthouse shot binary codes into a man's head and carved crop circle hieroglyphics into the spaceship hull. That's the equivalent of saying, don't worry folks, it wasn't a UFO, it was just a really obnoxious firefly. The Rendlesham Forest incident remains one of the most documented UFO encounters in history. Multiple military witnesses, audio recordings, radiation spikes, and a guy who basically got an alien version of a Windows update. And the kicker? These men stuck to their stories for decades, even under ridicule. To me, this isn't some campfire story, it's evidence that something was really there. And it wanted to make contact, in a language we barely understand. And if aliens are out zapping binary codes into random sergeants' heads, maybe they're not just tourists, maybe they're recruiting. That's it, I'm joining the alien army. Okay, but seriously. October 11th, 1973, two Mississippi men, Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker, decide to go fishing along the Pascagoula River. I hope I'm saying that right. Just a quiet night with the crickets chirping, lions in the water, maybe a couple of beers between them. Sounds like a freaking great time to me, dude. But their peaceful evening turns into one of the most terrifying abduction cases on record. Out of nowhere, a blue glowing craft descends near their riverbank. And before they can even react, three strange figures float out of it. Not walk, not step, but float. And these weren't your typical Hollywood Greys. Hickson and Parker described them as humanoid, about 5 feet tall, with wrinkled elephant-like skin, carrot-shaped ears, and crab-like claws for hands. Imagine if someone took a shrimp, a scarecrow, and a Roomba and mashed them together. That's what came to abduct these poor guys. The creatures paralyzed them instantly, levitating them into the ship. Hickson later said he was fully conscious but unable to move, like his body just refused to respond. And Parker, the younger and more traumatized one, said he blacked out from pure fear. Inside the craft, Hickson claimed he underwent some kind of weird examination. A big robotic eye scanned his body up and down, probing without ever touching him. He said the whole time the beings never spoke. Not verbally, not telepathically. Just cold robotic efficiency. Then, just as quickly, they were dumped back out on the riverbank, like trash being tossed out the window. Hickson described it as though the aliens had no interest in them as people. They were just like a specimen, like a bug pinned to a board. Here's where it gets bone-chilling. Hickson and Parker, they didn't run to the media. They went straight to the sheriff's office. And the sheriff, skeptical, left them alone in a room with a hidden recorder, figuring they'd probably contradict themselves or laugh about the prank. But instead, the tape caught the two terrified men whispering about what just happened. I know they're going to come back, one of them says in a shaking voice with fear. I just want to die. This was raw panic, not a hoax. The tape still exists today, and it's enough to make the hair on your arm stand straight up. Calvin Parker spent most of his life refusing interviews, refusing to capitalize on the story. He was deeply shaken, even decades later. Hickson spoke publicly, but never gained much from it. These weren't attention seekers. These were two ordinary men who had something extraordinary and horrifying forced upon them. To me, that makes it one of the most credible encounters out there. Skeptics, of course, said it was stress, hallucinations, or maybe they just made it up. But let's be real. If I were going to invent an alien story, I wouldn't describe the creatures as wrinkly space shrimp with crab claws. That's too weird, too ugly, too believable. And I sure as hell wouldn't secretly whisper in terror for a sheriff's tape recorder no one was supposed to hear. That's not acting, that's fear. This case remains one of the creepiest examples of humans being plucked up, examined like lab rats, and then discarded without a second thought. And honestly, that's the part that unsettles me the most, is that it's so casual. No messages, no we come in peace, no interest in who they are. Just scan the humans, dump them back, on to the next. Like it's routine. Like it's happened 1,000 times before. And this case was just the one unlucky night where the curtains slipped. Now let's talk about the Travis Walton case. If you've ever seen the movie Fire in the Sky, then you already know the Travis Walton story. If you haven't, go and get the movie and watch it tonight and then try to sleep. For those of you that don't know, November 5th, 1975, a logging crew in Arizona finishes work for the day. 7 men pile into a pickup, bouncing down a dirt road through the forest. Suddenly, they see a strange glowing object hovering in the trees. It's a disc-shaped craft emitting a blue-green light. And because every horror story starts with a bad decision, Travis Walton jumps out of the truck to get a closer look. His friends yell at him, "Get back in!" But Travis? Nope. He walks right up to it like he's inspecting a street lamp. And then, boom! A beam of light shoots out, slams into Travis, lifts him off the ground, and then tosses him like a frickin' rag doll. The rest of the crew does what any loyal friends would do in a life or death situation. They floor it and leave him behind. Hey, no judge. If my buddy was being vaporized by a UFO, I'd probably be peeling rubber too. But when they work up the courage to return a few minutes later, Travis, well, he's gone. The crew reports it immediately, and of course, nobody believes them. The local police suspect foul play. Sure, your buddy got abducted by aliens. Sounds like you murdered him in the woods. The men undergo lie detector tests. 5 pass, 1 is inconclusive, and none fail. The polygraph examiner calls it the most unusual case I've ever seen. Meanwhile, Travis Walton is still missing. And he's been missing now for 5 whole days. Imagine his poor family. One day you're a logger, the next you're a galactic lab rat. When he finally reappears confused and dehydrated, Travis claims he woke up inside a strange, sterile room. Standing over him were small, classic grays with oversized heads and huge black eyes. They tried to put some kind of mask over his face, but he freaked out, fighting them off. He then encountered taller, more human-like beings, blonde, almost angelic. They didn't speak, but he felt they were more in charge. This detail is fascinating because it suggests that multiple species were working together. The Greys doing grunt work, the tall humanoids as supervisors. It's like Earth's corporate ladder, but for abductions. Travis's story never wavered. The men who witnessed the beam of light never changed their accounts either. For nearly 50 years, he stuck to the same details. And trust me, this isn't a story you want to relive unless you truly believe it. Sure, skeptics argue that he hid out in the woods and fabricated it all, but come on. If you're going to fake an alien abduction, are you really going to traumatize your family and take lie detector tests and describe being force-fed some kind of alien gas mask by creatures that look like creepy space toddlers? That's hard to sell. I mean, me personally, I'm not going to be sitting around trying to make this stuff up and let alone hold on to the story for the next 50 years. And what's unsettling the most is the fact that the time gap, 5 days, not 2 hours of missing time like Betty and Barney Hill, 5 entire days unaccounted for. And Travis said that it felt like hours to him, but it was nearly a week. That makes me wonder, how much of the time was erased from his memory? What else did they do that he doesn't remember? If his friends hadn't seen the beam, if there weren't several witnesses backing his story, maybe no one would even believe him. But they did, and that makes this, the Travis Walton case, one of the most strongest, most bone-chilling abduction stories in history. So, here we are. We've gone from Betty and Barney Hill losing hours of their lives in New Hampshire, to thousands of Arizonans staring up at a silent triangle, to binary codes, forced shrimp-clawed aliens, and Travis Walton disappearing for 5 whole days. If even one of these stories is true, just one, then it changes everything. We're not alone. We never have been. The question isn't, are aliens real? It's, what do they want with us? Because based on the evidence, it doesn't look like peace treaties and handshakes. It looks more like observation, experimentation, and control. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe those lights in Phoenix were just flares. Maybe the Pascagoula encounter was 2 guys spinning a wild tale. Maybe every single witness over 70 years was lying. But come on, that's a lot of lies. That's a lot of coincidences, and I'm not buying it. So lock your doors, keep your eyes on the skies, and remember, if you wake up at 3 a.m. and see something at the front door or at the foot of your bed, don't scream, don't move, just whisper, "Please don't probe me," and hope they've got a sense of humor. Because whether it's abductions, strange lights, or something we haven't even named yet, one thing's for sure. They're a lot closer than we think. And hopefully for your sake, they're not that close to your booty cheeks. My name's Georgie, and I'm thinking out loud so you don't have to.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Witch Show from What I Think Seriously to You.
WITS.